What is going on, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you a couple tips on how to open up barbell tubes. I got a new bar here, and I'm going to show you a couple ways that I do it, and hopefully this will help you out a little bit. These things can be a major pain in the butt. First, let's see how we do it on the farm. Stay tuned. Hey, what's going on? That was too much fun doing the intro on this video. There's a couple things that I love to do. It's run a chainsaw and run a tractor. So yeah, as a guy, that's just something that you're born to do, basically. So how to get into one of these barbell tubes. I've got 3 tubes in front of me here, and this one here is from Rep Fitness. There's a bar in it still. This is from Rogue. And this is another one. I think this might be from Bare Steel Equipment. And there's some differences between the manufacturers. Rep's a little bit different. They've got screws and wire and different things. Rogue is very typical of what you're going to see here, and I'll do some close-ups as we get into actually undoing these. Rogue uses a staple and kind of a cap. And the tools you're going to want to have, I mean, you could do this with some very basic tools. And, you know, here's the stuff that I'm going to show a picture of what I'm going to show you today, and stuff that I use with my tooling, and how I kind of tackle it. And there's really only about there's kind of two ways to get into these things that are common. And the first way that personally, I've never done this, but a lot of guys on the forums, and I've seen a lot of guys on Instagram and stuff will use this method, and it's actually not far off from the chainsaw method. And it's as simple as just taking a saw and cutting the end off the tube. Now, there's a couple things you got to watch out for here on this, and clearly the most obvious one is if your bar is slid all the way this way, so you want to make sure that you get your tube up in the air and seat your barbell all the way at the other end of this tube, because you risk cutting into the barbell sleeve itself. Some of these tubes have like a foam spacer on each end, but I have seen the spacers missing. I have seen bars all the way up against the end of the cap. So again, I don't use this method, but it's not to say that it wouldn't work. And it really isn't hard. Just get a typical wood handsaw, and you're just cutting all the way through it. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but you get the idea. To me, it's a little risky, but a lot of guys swear by it. That's how they undo their bars. So that's how they do it. I wanted to show you that idea, and it is an option. Just make sure when you do it, you're cutting really close to the end so that you're not going to nick your barbell inside. So I know it's a little crazy, but some people do like that method. Now, the tools you'll want to have is a flathead screwdriver. If it's got screws like this one, you'll need a Phillips screwdriver, and you'll probably need a heavy-duty pick, some cutters, maybe some pliers, a flat tip plier, and those would come in handy. Again, people can get into these things with a butter knife if they work at it long enough. But let's go ahead and get into it, and I'll do a close-up here. We'll start with the Rogue tube, and I'll just kind of show you how I go about it. All right, so this is what a Rogue tube's going to look like, and I haven't messed with this at all. And this is basically straight up reality TV here, and I'll kind of just show you how I kind of go about it. A lot of these ends will get really beat up and crushed. Sometimes the cap will be missing, it's just got tape on it. If the cap's missing and there's just tape, obviously go to that side and just cut through the tape and take your barbell out that way, it's going to be a lot easier than trying to tackle one of these. So the first thing I'm going to go after on something like this is the staples. So it's got these little heavy duty staples in here, and you basically need to try to get all the staples loose. So you can either pull them out from the backside here, which sometimes is really hard to do. Try to show you that. If they're really deep into that cardboard, you won't be able to grab them from there. And if that's the case, you might want to try to cut the staple at the top end and pull them out from this side. But ideally, if you can get them loosened off, and I'm just using a flathead screwdriver, just going around and trying to straighten these out so we can try and get them out of here. Now, I've got these tubes obviously sitting on my daughter's gymnastics bar. In reality, you're not going to have it like that. And I've also taped it down, so I can't rotate this thing. So that's actually it's a disadvantage. It's good for filming the video, but for doing this, I wouldn't tape it down, because you want to be able to turn this and go around and get to each side of it as you're going around. So probably speed this video up as we go through it, but you want to get all those staples straightened out the best you can. And you can switch to your pliers and just get all those tails as straight as possible. I can tell already this one up here is going to be hard because it's crushed, but let's just see how this goes. Okay. And once you've got them loose, now you can try to pull them out. And that one there it is right there, was able to just get pried out from the outside. So that's the best case scenario that you're going to find. If they're too deep inside there, you may not get that lucky. So let's see this one here. And as you're doing this, don't get too worried about trying to salvage any of the cardboard. It's not a big deal. So what I'm doing there is I just was able to just basically pull the cardboard through and leave the staple in there. Then using your flathead screwdriver, you just get in between that cap and the cardboard and leverage it like that, almost like a can opener. And sometimes you'll just tear the staple right out. Like this staple here was in so deep that it wasn't even holding any of the cardboard. So it's super simple. And then there we go. So we're getting kind of lucky here. Now if I can get this bottom section and pry that, there it is, done deal. So that cap is off. You can see the staples are still in some of the sections, and not too bad. I don't think that was that hard. Didn't take that long. Really simple, no mess on that. All right, so now we're over at the rep cap. Again, there's a bar in here. So on this one, it's a little bit different. We've got a lock wire that's been basically laced through the cardboard and the cap itself. And then there's an additional little Phillips screws. So the first thing you're going to tackle here is, let's get the wire out. Then we'll go after the screws, then the cap. In this one, we're pretty lucky. This end is relatively unscathed. It's not that much, there's not much damage on it. So this is a little bit easier than if it was really beat up from shipping. But okay, so we got the wire loosened. Don't cut it unless you have to. Try to undo it first, and then cut the middle there. Grab your pliers, and you should be able to just, there it is. Pull that wire out, and again, pull it here. Get your wire out, both sides. And if it won't go that way, we'll pull it the other way. Okay, so we got both our wires out. Next up is screws. Again, this is a little different. You might not see this in the bars that you have, but this is got 3 screws in it, one down at the bottom. Okay, before you go to pry anything, just double check, make sure you got all the screws out of there. You'll take your flathead screwdriver and do the same thing we did with the Rogue one. Really simple. Find a spot that you can get between the cap and the actual cardboard and just start prying it out. That one went really easy. Cap's off, nice and simple. And now here's this foam spacer I was talking about. Now look how thin that is. So the problem is if you were going to cut this with a saw and that barbell was really tight up in here, you could risk hitting it. So that's why I don't do that method. But there you go. So we've got a, let's pull it out and see. Now getting the actual bar out can be a pain. Just try to, what I do is just try to set it up so it's kind of upside down and let the weight of the barbell slide out, and you'll find it'll come out really easy if you do that. It's not too bad. This one from Rep is actually all foam lined. This is my first bar I've ever bought from Rep, so I'm not kind of curious on how it's all packaged, but I'm really impressed. I've not seen anyone do that before, so that's really cool. And yeah, this is just a technique bar, and I'll probably get a review going on that, but there's a couple of reasons why I bought this bar over the competition. So, all right, that is it for how to open up barbell tubes. Hope you got some tips from this. I hope it was kind of interesting, and yeah, we'll stay tuned on the next one. See ya.